Hi, thank you for joining me today. My name is Jordan Tanner, and I'm a product manager here at SSV Labs. Today I'm going to do a walkthrough of the SSV 2.0 testnet. So let's begin. The first thing you should notice is that the navigation at the top of the page has changed. What you would have known as My Account, previously all of the DVT elements have been put into a tab called DVT. This is where you'll find your validated clusters and your operators and everything that you would have been familiar with SSV up until now. Here you can see I have a cluster. If I click here, everything is as it previously was. So today we're going to be discussing based applications, and what better place to start than the bApps tab. So what is a based application, or bApp? Essentially, it's a new category, a new form of decentralized application that leverages the existing Ethereum validator set, doesn't require restaking, and doesn't require exposure to additional slashing risks. Now, because there's no withdrawal key delegation and the slashing risk isn't increased for the existing validator set, it allows for a great deal of capital efficiency. A validator can participate in essentially an infinite number of based applications, and they don't have to reallocate capital or pose a risk to their existing validator set or to the Ethereum ecosystem at large. So in terms of examples of what a bApp could be, it could be anything from an oracle to a bridge, a layer 1 or a layer 2, confirmation service. Anything that requires security or operations, any form of computation, the possibilities are essentially endless. So let's move on to the My Account section. This is where I will be managing my delegations. I will be able to delegate my validator balance. So this balance here of the 45 ETH is essentially reflecting the cluster that I have over here in the DVT section. We have a spectra, so my balance is 45. It can be all the way up to 2048. And here below, we have depositable assets, which are assets that can be used as collateral. So in this case, I have an SSV token balance and Ethereum as well. Let's start by delegating validator balance. So if I click here, I'll be presented with a list of accounts that are currently participating within the based applications ecosystem. So I like the look of this one, and I'm going to delegate my Ether to this account. So here I can move the slider, I can select a percentage, I can type an exact percentage. And what I'm doing is delegating my voting power essentially, or my reputation as a validator to this particular account. And that power is conferred to this account. So now that that transaction has gone through, we can see that I have delegated to a single account and 50% of my total validator balance. If I click here, I can see the account that I've delegated to. Now let's have a look at depositing a slashable asset as collateral to a strategy. So in this case, I have two options. I have Ethereum in my wallet and SSV token. So if I click here, I can see a list of strategies that currently support SSV as an option for collateral. If I select this particular strategy, which I can see belongs to the owner that I delegated to previously, I can see more details about this particular strategy, the total delegated validator balance, and also some more information about the slashable assets that are here. I can also see which bApps they're supporting. So 2 in this case. If I hover on SSV token and click deposit, I can see that that's my available balance. And let's put 100. So first I'll need to approve this token spend. And now I will need to actually deposit these tokens into the based applications contract for this strategy. Now, after depositing these tokens, you can see that I'm back in the My Account section. If I click here, I can see exactly where they are deposited and how many. Now let's move on to strategies. So here we can see a list of all the strategies within the ecosystem. A strategy is essentially a configuration or a set of rules that defines an operator or a strategy manager's interaction, validators interaction with bApps. So the kind of things that are defined here are which bApps that this particular strategy supports. You can see some here that have one or two. It can be an infinite number of bApps that they support. They also define the number of tokens and which tokens they want to support and the obligations for each individual based application. A strategy also has a fee, which is applied on top. And here you can see some other details as well about the number of accounts that have deposited or delegated validator balance. Now let's have a look through at creating a strategy for us up. So you can see that the wizard begins with the bApp selection screen. So here I can see the list of all the bApps currently in the ecosystem. But for instance, let's select Bridge Link. Here I can see the bApps I've selected. I have an additional data field here, which is a requirement maybe for some bApps, not every single one. And here I can enter a hex value, whatever is required for this particular based application. Here you can see a list of assets that are supported by the based application. And here I can set obligations that I'm willing to apply for this particular based application. Here I can set an obligation of 90%. Here I'll set an obligation of 10%, and I will leave Ethereum outside of the strategy. Here I can set the fee for my strategy. I'm going to be very reasonable and set 3%. And here I can select metadata for the strategy itself and the account. Now the account metadata here, it says it's optional. I can provide it at a later date, and the account metadata is global across all of the strategies that I create. So if I go into a strategy that I've created, you'll see that the account owner is the same for each strategy that I've produced. And when I put the link to this JSON file, you can see that the strategy has title and a description. The account, you can see that the account has a name and an image. On clicking continue, the first thing that we're going to do is to register the strategy. So each one of these is an individual transaction. You can see that that transaction has been set. Now the next thing is to opt into the bApp that I selected with the parameters that I selected for obligations and any additional data. And the last transaction is for the optional step where I selected account metadata. Now the bonus of having this account metadata and the strategy metadata as a reference JSON file is that I can update it after I've sent these transactions. Anytime I can just edit the contents of that JSON file. And here we are. After the transactions have gone through, then I will be redirected to my strategy. If I go back to my account, you can see that I have a new tab here where I will see all of my global strategy data. And everything to do with the amount of delegations or total deposits will all be listed here. And here I can see my strategy. If I had more, then they would be listed here below. So lastly, let's have a look at the Assets Explorer. Here I can see all of the assets that are currently supported within the ecosystem. This is conferred from the bApps themselves, which assets they support. I can see the total deposits, how many strategies have been deposited with those particular assets, and also the global information about the amount of validated balance that has been delegated to different accounts. So that's basically everything. I'd advise you to explore the interface, to delegate some validator balance, to deposit some tokens, to maybe create a strategy, and have fun exploring the interface. The most important thing that we're looking for is feedback from the community, which is you guys. We're active on Discord, myself included, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much.